we took the opportunity to really shift gears. We got into real estate. Land flipping was our entry point. We moved from Plano here to Colorado, not exactly this house, but we moved to the Boulder area. We rented for a few years. We downsized so that we could start a business and not have too much pressure on us in terms of having to do it too quickly. And then after a couple of years, we really ramped it up into a very healthy business. We replaced our income. We were growing beyond what we were making in the corporate world. And subsequently, we were paying a big tax bill. And so we got into commercial real estate as well to offset and take some passive losses and keep more of our income in our pocket. And so we were able to move here to a beautiful home here in the mountains of Colorado. And we've been here for 2.5 years or so. But other than also being a runner, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
God bless you.
Yeah, we love it. It's been great. I couldn't have dreamt of a better life, honestly. And I think when we went into entrepreneurship, we were both skeptical, nervous, unsure if things were going to work out, but they worked out much more quickly than we dreamt. So it's been great so far.
Well,
Hello, and welcome to a special edition of the Cash Flow Fight Club podcast. Today, we're doing a crossover edition with yours truly as the guest. I'm crossing over and reposting an episode that I recorded on Heather Ewing's podcast, the CRE Rundown, where we discuss endurance as entrepreneurship and endurance in running.
Welcome to Heather Ewing, the CRE Rundown. I am your host, Heather Ewing, and today I have from lovely Colorado, Mike Deaton. Mike, welcome.
Thanks, Heather. Excited to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here today. So I've known you a little bit through LinkedIn, but for our audience, give them the spiel. Who is Mike Deaton, and tell us about land flipping.
You bet. So I'm a native Texan, grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, spent most of my life there. Went the normal path. Maybe it's not normal so much anymore, but college, got a job out of college, worked the corporate hamster wheel for over 20 years. 2016 was victim of a layoff. And after dodging dozens throughout my career, my wife also found herself out of work at that kind of same summer in 2016. And so rather than just jump right back into corporate, we both had nauseous feelings about getting back into the workforce like that. And so we were able to pause. We reflected on what we wanted out of life. And it was really just more time together. We were living in Plano, Texas at the time. We wanted more time outside and doing things. We were in the 40s, and both of our in our 40s at the time. And we were like, we want to be able to enjoy what life has to offer today rather than save for retirement, retire, hopefully, and then maybe be physically fit to do the things we wanted to do. So we took the opportunity to really shift gears. We got into real estate. Land flipping was our entry point. We moved from Plano here to Colorado, not exactly this house, but we moved to the Boulder area. We rented for a few years. We downsized so that we could start a business and not have too much pressure on us in terms of having to do it too quickly. And then after a couple of years, we really ramped it up into a very healthy business. We replaced our income. We were growing beyond what we were making in the corporate world. And subsequently, we were paying a big tax bill. And so we got into commercial real estate as well to offset and take some passive losses and keep more of our income in our pocket. And so we were able to move here to a beautiful home here in the mountains of Colorado. And we've been here for 2.5 years or so. But other than also being a runner, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
God bless you.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that's the rundown of what led me from there to here. And yeah, we love it. It's been great. I couldn't have dreamt of a better life, honestly. And I think when we went into entrepreneurship, we were both skeptical, nervous, unsure if things were going to work out, but they worked out much more quickly than we dreamt. So it's been great so far.
That's terrific. And there's two things that you said, that you took pause and you reflected.
Mhm.
Those are two very powerful actions, right? And when I think about it, when people get laid off, usually something has hit the fan, right? Not that I'm sure you were alarmed. Anyone would be. But what I love what you both did was to pause, to reflect, what do we want? How do we best utilize this time? What might life look like? And I think in taking those steps, that's how people revolutionize their life and bring it from good to grand, wouldn't you say?
100%. I mean, I tell this story and coach clients in all of this stuff exactly that point. Introspection and reflection on not only what you want out of life, but where you are in life and the things that you're doing is so powerful and important because, like I said, what I thought was the normal path was go right out of high school into university, get right out of
Mhm.
university into a job, chase promotions, buy a house, buy a bigger house, have kids. Just it all snowballs and I watch it. I have two older daughters that are in their 20s and I'm watching them go down a similar path. Very quickly, you get trapped. Like
Mhm.
they are a little bit stuck in trying to pay the monthly bills. How do I even switch careers? I don't really like my job. How do I do that? And so fortunately, in 2016, when that happened, we were one in a position to do it. So empty nesting, it was only my wife and I. She's super supportive. She comes from a different background than I have. She has a little more tolerance for risk in that way. And so we one had the conditions to be able to do it. We had some money in the bank. I also got a severance. And so we had some padding, at least for me.
Mhm.
We had a bit of security. But then two, we actually listened to the intuition or the gut feeling or whatever
Mhm.
that just said,
Mhm.
I don't like the direction I'm about to take. And those things lined up such that we were able to make that choice in the moment and do that. And yeah, I don't look back with regret because my life led me to where I am. But I think a lot of
Right.
times we do get caught just on the hamster wheel or the rat race or whatever term you want to use that we're just going without giving too much thought to, is this where I want to be going? And have I designed my life in such a way that I can pivot if I want to? We get
Right.
the, the trappings of the American story.
Right. And I think too that storyline has such momentum, speed, and velocity, and it's easy to access. Anyone will tell you how to become an accountant, how to do this, that, or the
Yeah.
other thing. And I think back to my own in the early days of you want to get something stable, something that pays well, all
Right.
of those. Get your 401k, the 2 week vacation in the beginning, things of that nature. And I never heard about commercial real estate, and realistically, I didn't hear about it until my 40s, which is when, like, I knew of commercial real estate, but I had no idea there's people that make a living off of retail and restaurants where I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like a Lady Gaga awakening of, "Baby, I was made for this." And I think it's really neat, and you probably see a lot of it in your coaching is that and I remember this in my early days too. I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years, so it's been a while, but people wanna make one decision
Mm.
and it's gotta be the right decision because, like, they're never gonna
Yeah.
veer from it, and I can relate to that in the early days, and I think it's a muscle, which I would anticipate you'll agree with this, you create the steady wins through delivering on your word, your promises to yourself, following that intuition, gut feeling, and it builds momentum just like your endurance races.
100%. Yeah. I think it's Tony Robbins that says, when you think you have one choice, you're trapped. If you only have two choices, it's a dilemma. But it's once you get beyond that into three, four more choices that you feel really resourceful and you have all these options. And it does feel that way. Real estate for me, also finding it late in life, is so powerful because there are so many different ways that you can choose to forge your own path, whatever resonates with you, right? You can be passive investing, you can be a landlord, you can be active in the business, you can broker deals, you can lead deals, there's just so much opportunity there and it's incredible. And yeah, I do think it's not really a secret that's, I think, actively being put on everybody, but it's just, there's less publicity and visibility about it, at least through the traditional education system and work system. And yeah, it
I
is.
agree. And I think it's one of those things too, there's just so many ways of going about things. And what I've noticed too is that people might try, to your point, one area within commercial real estate or real estate.
Mhm.
It's just not aligned for their personality or interests. And then they
Right.
just write off the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, do your due diligence of try the different asset classes, ask questions. And I think people need to have a beginner's mind and to really expand upon it and go down the rabbit hole of what leads to this and to really open up that box. and find the
Definitely.
right thing. And maybe at the end they realize none of it really pertains to them, but at least then they know and it's not, oh gosh, I wonder if years later.
Yeah, we found our way into, like I said, commercial real estate and for the benefits of tax depreciation and diversifying our portfolio. And so we struggled with which asset class do we want to get into. And at the end of the day, we just decided, okay, let's just pick one, go, try it out. And we did that. We went into multifamily and we worked our way across the spectrum. So we started as limited partners. We just passively invested. And then we got in to doing some due diligence on properties with teams. And then we expanded into raising some capital for deals. And then we got more into the operations and the underwriting and finding deals. And so, yeah, through that process, we figured out, oh gosh, I really despise this aspect of it. And I'd rather focus in these areas. But to your point, it can also be different asset classes. Even since we've been in the world, we understand now, oh, there's triple net leasing, there's retail, there's all these
Mhm.
different types of real estate that resonate, whether there's storage units, right? There's no tenants involved. There's different things
Right.
there. So yeah, you can definitely find a niche that works for you and a way to function within it that is great to be a part of.
Definitely. How would you say, with all these different variables, how would you say mindset ties into this?
Obviously, an intricate part of however you choose to participate. And so, for instance, as a passive investor, there's a little bit different mindset that comes into play in terms of how you go about finding deals and networking and then even the not every deal is going to be successful, most likely. And so you have to understand the strategy there and take some wins and losses. On the active side of the business, there are different aspects of mindset, but it's critical to come in with an open mind, to have that. You mentioned a beginner's mindset, or I think that's
Mhm.
such a critical aspect of knowing that there are so many other ways to go about doing things, learning from mentors, from coaches, from other people that have been down paths. And I think that's very critical. One of the things that within the last year we started doing is coaching other people in the land business, which we're a part of. And one of the first things we do, it's all about mindset. It's understanding, why are you getting into this? Building a compelling picture of goals and targets and to help, because there are ups and downs and you need that mindset or that anchor to really pull you
Well,
through any valleys or low points. Because yeah, there'll be obstacles and resistance in any endeavor. And let's all face it, right? Residential in '08, commercials going through a little bit of it now,
right.
back in COVID, all of this stuff takes hits and you just have to understand that it's a part of weathering the storm and keeping a resilient mindset.
And I think you hit on another important point, which is your why. And whether that's real estate, whether it's endurance running, sports, life, I've noticed that when people have a why, it is that anchor, it is the foundation that even when the times are challenging and you just want to, you ask yourself, why did I begin this? Then it helps you to reframe, reset, and to dig back in with that vigor because you know that it's only a period. There's never anything bad for too long. There's never anything too great for too long. There's always that ebb and flow and the cycling. So as we tie that into the endurance sector, which we both love,
Yeah,
tell our audience a little about your endurance racing and how you got into it. And also, how does that help you with real estate?
sure. Yeah, I got into running. I think I was 30 when I refound running. Running for me, I was an athlete in high school, and it was always it was always brought to me in terms of a punishment, right? You did bad things, go run, do laps, whatever. So once I left high school, I was never running again. But I got back into running more in a social way. I had some colleagues at work that were into doing 5Ks. And so somebody invited me to one and I went. It was a great time. It was a big social. I didn't do great, but there was beer and a buffet and a bunch of people
Right.
afterwards. And so I got into it from that aspect. And then once you're in, I think for most of us, this is the case where you do a few 5Ks and you think, I could do a 10K. And then it's a
Right.
half marathon,
Right.
it's a marathon. And now I'm dabbling in ultras. And so last year I signed up for this crazy challenge. Since we moved to Colorado, I've been a bit enamored with the Leadville 100, which is a mountain ultra
Yes.
trail race. And like David Goggins ran it, a
Yep.
few other people. And it's always intrigued me, but it's really hard to get into. And I found a backdoor in which is if you sign up for 5 events over the summer, then you're guaranteed entry as long as you finish, as long as you start each of those 5 events. And so
What?
last year I went about, I signed up thinking, okay, this is great. And the marathon is first. I just ran last weekend, this year's marathon, and I bombed out. Like it was snowing. It was June. It was snowing in the mountains. It was like a freak snowstorm. And I got about
Oh,
15
wow.
minutes, and my wife was waiting at one of the aid stations. And I was like, you know what? Just done with this. This is crazy. And so it derailed me mentally. I thought, okay,
Right.
I've messed up this whole challenge. What's the point? And so this year I decided to go back in, and understanding, or at least creating a strong why, was a big part of re-entering it this year. And so, yeah, for me, running is very meditative. It's very
Mhm.
reflective. I love now getting out. My wife will ask me, "Do you get lonely running by yourself sometimes?" I'm like, I love it. It's just my time to think, to work through issues, or just to veg out. We live in the middle of just gorgeous. We're close to Pikes Peak, and so I run in the foothills of Pikes Peak around a reservoir typically, and it's my time. And so,
Oh, that's beautiful.
but
Yeah.
the
And
endurance part of it is really just more of a test. It's, can I do it? Can I piece together the training, the mental, all of this to come together on a day to go through it. So, like I say, I just ran the marathon Saturday. It was grueling. There's like, I think 7,500 feet of elevation gain. It's up and down a
oh,
mountain.
wow.
Afterwards,
Congratulations, by the way.
afterwards, I was
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, afterward. So then this weekend, so 7 days later, is a 50 mile, also in the mountains. And so this was a training run. But after the marathon, I was like, I don't know that I'm even going to do the 50 mile. This is crazy. But a few days have passed. I've reset a little bit. So now I'm think I'm energized to line up.
Spoken like a true runner. Like, no, I mean, it's like, we've got a few days. Why not?
Right. Yeah. The marathons are that way. I'll run a marathon and I'll be like, gosh, I'm never running a marathon again, or an ultra or whatever. And then, yeah, a few
Right.
weeks go by. It's like, I bet I could do a little better if I did it again.
Exactly. You start breaking it down, right? And you start creating a plan and building it of
Right.
what went well the first time, what do you need to shift this time? And that's where too I can completely relate that. I do a lot of running solo and it is meditative. It's also when I get different ideas for deals or maybe how to
Mhm.
creatively merge a gap or make something happen, or maybe it's a new offering that I just haven't thought of. And I think so many people dislike it. The conclusion I've come to is that you do have to be present, right? Because you do feel your body of what's going on, what's tight, what, all these different things. And in that sense, I think it's also very awakening because you are present, but then after a while you shift out and it's like you're just floating out there too. So it's a little bit of both, it feels like for me.
Yeah. And just circling it around to your question about tying it into real estate, I think
Right.
sports in general is so applicable to business and life and everything. But
Mhm.
with endurance, it's just about having a plan, having a why to start with, putting together a
Yeah.
plan, being consistent, and just staying in the moment, being able to adjust if your body's telling you something. To this week, the first couple days of the week, I've been pretty actively resting. I've gone on a few walks. I've just let my legs recover. Now they're feeling pretty good, so I'll probably either get on the bike later, or go out for a light jog or something. But all these things apply, and there are periods for really digging in deep, and there are periods for backing off and taking a break, and all of that stuff. I think it really builds, especially for most entrepreneurs, regardless if it's running or cycling or some other
Mhm.
activity. I think you can apply a lot of the training principles and lessons into business.
Definitely. And I think one of the other nice attributes of it is that with commercial real estate, it takes months, sometimes years to do a deal. And the
Yeah.
nice thing is you can train for a marathon in 4 short weeks and then you've accomplished something. So it feels like immediate feedback
No work,
compared to the
right?
other things that
Okay.
we do.
You
But
can maybe train for a marathon in 4 short weeks. I'm not sure everybody can.
or I'm sorry, in 4 months.
Okay. It's better. Yeah.
If I had that secret, Mike, that would be a whole nother profession.
Exactly.
But as we wrap this up, my final and the most, inspiring question is what does living fully mean to you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think it's obviously it's different for everybody. For me, you mentioned being present, and I think living fully is really, as much as possible, being present in the moment and being able to fully experience anything. So when I'm out on a run, I do try to mindfully make sure that I am being appreciative of my surroundings. And while I do listen to things a lot of times I won't. I'll just want to be immersed in it. It's the same in work or the same in your relationships. I think if we're too busy reflecting on the past or worrying about the future, we miss these moments of being alive and fully alive. And so obviously it's different for different people. For me, I love experiences. I love traveling, going on adventures, visiting with family. It's those kind of things. We don't have a lot of material things at this point. We like to live in a nice house, but other than that, just not a lot there. It's more experiential for us and having good experiences is about being present because you'll miss the experience if you're not. So, that for me is really living a full life.
That sounds perfect. And I enjoy seeing your pictures too when you float them through on LinkedIn. It's always like, oh, there they are. It looks perfect. So I agree. Traveling is a true joy in life. It's the adventure, the food, the shared experiences, and learning. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining me today. And how can our audience connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. The best way to get in
Of
touch with
course.
me is we have a website, flippingdirt.us. And if you go to flippingdirt.us/freedom, we have a lot of contact information. There's a way to make an appointment if you want to set up a call, the phone number, email. That's the best way to get in. And you can also see a little bit about what to the world of land flipping and land investing is all about.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you.